All right. Well, as Luis wonderfully welcomed us, we are here today to present the modernization case of the House of Commons of Canada with a tagline of moving towards a seamless service experience. As Luis said, my name is Christopher Henry, and I'm joined with my colleague,
Kleo
Hapitas. And without further ado, let's roll on with the presentation. Where we always like to start when we have an opportunity to showcase is, why are we here? How did we get here today to be able to speak about the future of our modernization at the House of Commons of Canada? Well, fortunate for us, we're supported by an amazing organization that has rallied to update its strategic plan for the years 2023 to 2026. So just a fresh refresher. And the focus of today's presentation will be on a specific key priority that we wanted to showcase, which is around our service delivery, to provide a seamless service experience that is client-centric, integrated, and accessible. This really became the foundation of the modernization case that we're going to present towards something we call a client engagement hub and associated strategies. So with that, Kleo, if you indulge us, I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper, and we're going to go much deeper under the hood, but just to put ourselves in the mindset of our clients. Who are our clients? Our members of Parliament, their staff, and ourselves too as service providers. We are clients often as well. And what happens when you're a client is you're consuming services. And the little portrayal we want to share with you today here is, I want to do something. As a client, I want to request a service from this wonderful organization. So Kleo, roll the animation. So in this scenario, we want to change a light bulb in my office. Where do I go as a client? Well, it's pretty simple, right? I make a request to our facilities team, and they're very happy to help me with that singular request. But let's look at another scenario. Oh, geez, my keyboard stopped working. Where do I go for that? Okay, well, of course, yes, IT is the logical place we'll go, and I'm sure our wonderful IT folks will be happy to help us there. But needs aren't always that simple, right, Kleo? Tell us about something more complex.
Right, so not much to worry about in terms of the satisfaction or the complexity of simple ones like that. But as Chris alluded to, sometimes the service needs of our clients are much more complex. And as an example, what if the thing they want to do or need to do is to hire someone? Well, delivering that kind of service, unlike the two we just saw a second ago, that kind of service delivery can be dispersed across multiple different systems and people in our organization. A lot of people have a different role to play as part of bringing someone on board and making them an effective employee. And as this is dispersed across different people and potentially different systems across the organization, that's where the complexity comes in. That's where the question marks start to appear for our client, and where the confusion can start to set in, right? Now they need to handle a lot of different things, and that can lead to inefficiency and mistakes along the way, and certainly frustration, right? So complex service needs dispersed across the organization need very different treatment than the simple ones. And to give you a quick visual of what a previous hiring experience, or one that looks like before we modernized it, was something like this, where the hiring manager's in the middle and he's juggling in a sense, a lot of balls, almost like someone in the center of a three-ring circus sometimes. To kick things off, you're going to have to go to an ERP system, and you're going to have to fill in a form to get this process started. Then you're going to have to locate various documents that this potential new employee is going to have to agree to, sign, fill in, send back. So you're going to have to get all those, attach them in emails, send them out to this person. Often, maybe you remind or harass this person to get them back. You've got to collect them from your inbox. You've got to upload them back to the various systems in the enterprise. You've got to get that person screened. We don't want to let people that potentially are security risks into organizations. So we're going to need the employee to fill in a form, and we send them a blank form, and we instruct them where to send it to, and they do. But often, as a matter of fact, up to 85% of the time, they miss residential details or they miss employment details, which makes that form go back and forth before we can complete the security check. Very time consuming, very frustrating. Moving on. If that new employee needs to be able to spend money on behalf of the organization, well, you have to find the right delegation, financial delegation form, get that filled in and set up and posted to the right place. And it goes on and on. You can see where this is going, right? We need to arrange for office space and furniture. We need to arrange for devices and computing and mobile phones, things of that nature. So you can imagine how time consuming and frustrating and error prone this can be for that hiring manager or the person in their staff that's trying to get this new employee on board. So what we transformed it to is something where we take all that complexity away from them. There's no need for them to have to worry about it. So with this client engagement hub that we put in place, allow them to make a simple request. I want to hire John, and we'll invite John to the system. He'll provide all the information. We don't need to involve the hiring office in that. John can take care of that with the organization. And then allow the system to orchestrate all the right people, whether they're in HR or IT or finance or security, whatever the case may be. Everybody does the thing they're supposed to do in the order they're supposed to do it, so that we can complete the process of hiring John. And all the hiring manager, the MP wants to know is that it's done, right? Don't bother me with all the details. A much better, more delightful experience than the one we depicted on the previous slide.
All right, so I did promise a little deep dive. So Kleo showed you a little bit about the outside interactions of the client engagement hub. Let's peer inside, because that's where we as service providers in our administrative offices are here to make the magic happen, so John gets that great experience. So for example, I want to hire an MP constituency office assistant. How does that person engage with our service delivery? Well, we've chosen a omni-channel engagement experience. Obviously beginning with the white glove, or as we call red carpet treatment, where and when desired, but sometimes our clients are remote or at a different time of the day where they prefer a little more self-serve. So we provide that opportunity to them to engage with us. Peering deeper, we're able to look at how the hub works internally. So it's essentially a unified information and transaction portal where we have all of our items cataloged in terms of services for which our clients can interact with these services. And most important, the tasks and activities to deliver the service outcome are being tracked. The data is being managed. The constant state of knowing where the services are at is in the hands of the client as well as our service providers. So if we go even deeper under the hood of the engagement hub, that's where the magic of our service providers come in. And that's where we call it sort of unified service fulfillment, where we're abstracting the dozens, if not sometimes hundreds of systems that could be happening underneath the hub, but we obfuscate it. We abstract that from the client experience. It's how we are delivering our services, and it's how we're constantly in a state of harmonizing and transforming these services to be more integrated, so those activities can be done more in concert. So that's really a one-pager of our hub, but let's look at what Kleo and I like to see is, what does it really add up to? What is the client experience with that? So Kleo, if you're so kind, please roll the film.
The Members Employee Management System is a great time saver. It streamlines the communication and paperwork required to hire someone. I simply enter basic information such as salary offered and desired start date, and the candidate is automatically notified of next steps. Meanwhile, human resources and other teams are updated with tasks to action, and I can track the status of files. I was happy to learn that this same employee management system will also support employee offboarding. This means that the complete life cycle of an employee, from the letter of offer to the deactivation of accounts and access cards, can all be managed in one place.
So nothing like getting that testimonial from the end user themselves and contrasting the experience prior to this and after. And an interesting note here is that particular MP staffer has been on the Hill a fairly long time and has been dealing with the old way of hiring people into MP's offices for a decade or so, and was extremely happy now that we've transitioned to the newer one. But, in addition to getting the anecdotal evidence from the users themselves, we wanted to dig a little bit deeper and see, can we quantify some of that? Because yeah, it's great that it's faster, and it's great that it's simpler, and it's great that it's a better experience overall. But what is that? Can we put some numbers to that? And what you're looking at here is a chart of all the staffing services that have been modernized. It's not just the hiring one, it's about a dozen of them that we modernized. And over a 12-year rolling period, we've handled just over 7,600 of them. And there are some heavy hitters, the most voluminous, or the one that's invoked most often, is hire an employee for 1,700 times in a year. Well, talking to our clients, they're saying that this saves them up to 2 hours of time versus the old way of manually preparing all the documents and sending them and collecting them and unattaching them and storing them and uploading them and things of that nature. Well, you translate that across 1,700 times, we're putting close to 3,500 hours of reclaimed employee productivity back into MP offices. Another very high-hitting one is the modify employment request. Once somebody is brought in, their role often changes, their title changes, they need to change from full-time to part-time or some other kind of modification. We did that 900 times over the course of a year and are told that that saves up to 90 minutes of time. Again, 1,300 hours of reclaimed productivity. And if you put these two, 1,719, so close to 2,600 service requests in the period of a year, that adds up to quite a bit of productivity save, right? Over 4,700 hours, which translates, depending on whether people work 35 or 37 or 40 hours a week, to anywhere from 2 to 2.5 person years of actual client time saved. And of course, the time saved means much better and happier client as well. And we wanted to throw one other example up here. We didn't just look at it from an HR perspective. Another very, very painfully fragmented process is hosting events, where the person in the middle has got to deal with every detail by themselves, or used to. Book a photographer, reserve a room, take care of the food, pre-screen the visitors, make sure multimedia, projectors, microphones, you name it, right? All of that had to be taken care of. And all of that was by individual emails to different people across the organization. Can be dozens of phone calls, dozens of emails, and very time consuming and complex. So similar to what we did with HR, we wanted to replace all those phone calls and emails to different people and create a simple request into the client engagement of the service hub that says, I want to host an event, here are the details, the time and the place, what I want to do, and allow the system to orchestrate across all the different actors, the different people in our organization that need to get involved to make an event a success. Again, when all that stuff is not the worry of the person hosting the event, a much, much happier event host indeed. And we've got one more testimonial.
When it comes to planning an event on the Hill, details are very important. Often, events are planned on short notice, so an efficient and easy-to-use online tool is essential. That's why I was pleased to be involved with the development of the event and access management system and share my experience with planning and executing events on behalf of the Speaker of the House of Commons. I was also pleased to participate in usability sessions to ensure the system was designed to make our jobs easier. The new system saves time and provides the necessary confidence to ensure a successful event. It also allows everyone involved from across the House of Commons to be connected in one online space where we can confirm, log, and track every activity and change in plans. This reduces the chance for miscommunication or misunderstanding and also greatly enhances the collaboration required for a successful event.
Okay, and that's Anthony, who works for the Speaker's office at our House of Commons here in Canada and hosts hundreds, right, Chris? Probably many hundreds of events over the course of the year. So let's take one quick moment to look ahead. We talked about a couple of very complex service scenarios that we modernized and simplified. What's next? Well, there's no shortage of other service complexity that we could target. The key is, of course, to pick ones that are going to give you the greatest return on your investment, right? But a few that we either have our hands on or our eyes on at the moment, are working on, or we will turn our attention to soon, include workplace services, all the facility management, the safety of our people. There's 40 buildings in our campus dispersed across several kilometers on Parliament Hill, and services around making all of that work seamlessly can be very complex, as you can understand. And then there's a whole host of opportunities, we believe, certainly with legislative and procedural services as well, whether it's things that happen in committee rooms and the logistics around getting witnesses prepared and ready to appear more and more these days virtually, things of that nature. right? And in addition to what processes you modernize and give people a much easier experience, they're inevitably going to need help along the way. So we're also tackling creating a much better assistance or care experience and reducing the dozens sometimes of help desk phone numbers and emails across the organization to as few of those as possible. And to make that successful, we have to put into the hands of those centralized care agents as much access to as many systems and data across the enterprise as possible. Because if you funnel them all down to one number, instead of calling up one of a dozen numbers, but then all you do is warm transfer them to somebody else, you haven't achieved much. So you've got to empower those agents with the data, with the information that they need at their fingertips to be able to help provide an equally delightful care and assistance experience as we're attempting to provide a digital online kind of experience.
Luis, don't worry. This is our last slide, Luis. So we'll wrap it up with this. So key takeaways and reflections. First one that comes to mind as we reflect on this deck that we've shared is business process. Obviously, as we all experience across our organizations, there's many service departments, many business units. How do we look at our workflows of activities of our people, our tasks, our activities in a more integrated and unified way versus potentially a more siloed traditional approach? It's a key reflection for going forward.
Absolutely. A second one is automation. We didn't get into a lot of technical details here, of course, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of technology in that customer engagement hub at work. And the temptation is there to automate as much as you can, or potentially everything. And we've certainly found our experience over the last few years is that, the 80-20 rule is a good one. It applies to so many areas, and it applies here as well. Think of the things that are repeatable, that happen all the time, that are kind of soul crushing and mundane, that you can take out of the hands of your people and automate those. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening that's either occasional or needs human judgment. And although the temptation is there to try to automate that, AI is getting smarter and it's getting more capable, it doesn't replace human judgment. So a little care in terms of how much and how little we automate.
And let's not forget data. Data is the gold and the treasure trove of all of our organizations. When we reflect on data in terms of our client data, there's a lot of analytics we're able to start harnessing of how our clients interact with our services. But then there's we as service providers with our enterprise data that we also harvest. Just looking at even at one area of legislative data is a treasure trove to look at. Is one of the contemplations we have always is quality versus quantity in this space. The past was, well, I can only collect as much as we can catalog and metadata, whereas potentially with advents of AI in the future, there could be more assistance with and more abundance in terms of leveraging a larger data set that we get assistance from AI to help us with and actually feeds it.
Absolutely. And then finally, just some thoughts around governance. We certainly saw as we progressed through our solutions here in our modernization that we need to start thinking about the ownership of processes and service delivery, I should say even better, as a unified thing, right? It's easy for an organization to think that, oh, okay, well, to hire someone, HR has ownership of a part of the service delivery, and then IT has a part, in giving devices, and security plays a role in terms of vetting someone or clearing them to be able to come on premise, right? And HR, as I said, has to do pay and benefits and things of that nature. Well, it doesn't work when you think of them as a bunch of different pieces or parts of service delivery owned by different people. To the client, it's a single service. I want to hire someone. I want to onboard someone. It doesn't matter that involves 10 different departments in an organization. We better start thinking about that as a single service that we all jointly own.
And since this is a AI themed conference, thanks to our hosts, we did want to reflect and finish with the thought that these reflections, these four that you see before you today, really are what we're looking forward as the foundations of our AI-assisted service delivery potential. So that's really where we'll end the presentation today. And Luis, we're happy to take any questions from the audience now or later.